Hello, this is Scott from BS Paranormal Investigations. Today I'm responding to Jason from Strange Paranormal's YouTube channel. He requested that BS Paranormal, along with two other channels, talk about their worst paranormal investigations ever. He gave us a shout out and linked our channel in his description. We returned the favor by linking his original video slash access to his channel in the description below as well. Bradley's response is probably going to be different than mine because he wasn't there for my worst paranormal investigation experience ever. And his video will probably come a little bit later. But I really wanted to get mine out ASAP because I have other investigations. I have more evidence and other things to go over and kind of work with. So my worst investigation ever, up to this year, was probably the Bellamy Bridge, and it had nothing to do with the investigation itself. The tech was fine. I thought we did okay for being out there. And that's what I'm saying for being out there. The environment, Mother Nature, made that more difficult than it needed to be. We were on a schedule. We only had so many days to get the shot in before Bradley had to return to work and I needed to come back to Colorado. So we went out to the area, we went out to the bridge, and the reality was, the trail that leads to the bridge had been destroyed by Hurricane Michael a few years ago and had not been yet repaired. It has been as of now, over the past year it has been, but as of last year it was not. So we had to traverse through flooded areas to get to the bridge with our equipment, which is what we did. That was a pain. So Bradley, he's pretty strong guy. He's actually a weightlifter. He picked up some small trees that had fallen and he threw them across, and we hiked over or balanced over there to the other side of the bridge. We made it one piece. No one fell down. No one slipped. So it was pretty convenient. We get out there. We investigate. And I don't know, about an hour into it, we hear some thunder. We're like, crap. So we take all of our gear, we pack it back up, and we head out. I swear, we got to the car, or the vehicle, just as a torrential downpour started. We got the equipment in the vehicle before the torrential downpour started. So we got rained on from the trunk to the driver and passenger seat. That's how close we cut it in terms of getting our gear wet and all that fun stuff. Now we have waterproof cases and stuff, and so it's better now, but that was a rough one. We ended up going back a few days later to try it again when the weather had cleared up, because it did rain for a few days. At least rain was in the forecast a few days, and it did rain 2 days, but not the third. Fourth day it was supposed to be clear, and it was. We went out there. It was stupid hot because it's Florida in July, and the rain had caused even more flooding. But our makeshift bridge was still there. It still worked. We still balanced on it just fine. We got over to the other side and did our investigation with bugs swarming us. We heard an alligator not too far away, loud enough to where we heard it enter the water, or close enough to where we heard it enter the water. Investigating in a swampland of Florida, it's great. And so I would put that one up there in worst experiences. But I would do it again. I really would. Bellamy Bridge is kind of the big ghost story for my hometown. Bradley and I really want to do it again, do it better. We were informed by another paranormal team who frequently do the Panhandle of Florida that the Bellamy Bridge haunted hotspot is actually in a different location, not exactly where we were. Um, and after doing more digging and more research, calling a few people up, I discovered that Elizabeth Bellamy's grave is actually on the other side of the river, um, on private land. However, there is still some space on the other side of the river that is still public land, um, and thus remains. So we might try to find a way to get across the river this year without like having to um, enter private property, like bring a raft or something, go over there. But that might turn out to be the worst experience ever, so I'll keep you posted. So the next place, it's kind of in contention with the Bellamy Bridge because it has more to do with what happened while I was on site involving other people, um, and not so much like uncontrollable natural forces. Um, and this one has to do more with, I guess you could say, what the hotel allowed to happen, which is why the episode never aired. I will never say what hotel it is. I will not say where it is located. If you've been following me since January on social media, you might have an idea. Um, but the reality is, I deleted all that stuff, and I don't think we have enough followers to remember. That's what I'm thinking, at least. But I did start posting stuff, and then I took it all down after the events of the second night of the investigation. That being said, the first night went okay. I was at this hotel. I was given pretty much free reign of everywhere except for where the employees were, which was behind the front desk and in the back area behind the front desk. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I went, I investigated the hotel. Honestly, upon review, of course, this was well after the events that happened. Um, I really didn't get much. I had one K2 experience that might be something. I did post that one to Instagram and social and Facebook on those social media platforms. But again, I made sure that there was no way to know what hotel it was, and there was no way to know like exactly like where I was at the time. I will say that it was in Colorado because I wanted to investigate this place. It had ghost stories associated with it, and it was the hotel where I stayed at when I first moved to Colorado. The hotel is very different than I remember um, when I first moved out here. Very different in a negative way. Which is why again, if I'm not going to say or give a positive review about a place, I'm not even going to give the name of the place. Um, when I arrived, the general manager was super excited. We had a conversation. We talked about hot spots around the hotel. We talked about experiences she had, experiences I read about. Um, we talked about places where people get, the heebie-jeebies, people feel uneasy on edge. Um, and honestly, in the daytime, it wasn't odd or strange or anything. But after about 8 o'clock, um, this hotel kind of just let pimps, drug dealers, prostitutes wander around their hotel. That was kind of the thing I noticed. Um, Honestly, there were some homeless people there, but they weren't bothering anybody. They were just curling up on chairs and couches and whatnot, sleeping. They were minding their own business. But drug dealers, prostitutes, pimps were knocking on doors. They were um, trying to get people to buy their services. Um, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to edit all this out of the video. And I kind of already started to get the feeling like, okay, this is probably not gonna air. It's good practice. It's good to make those decisions on the ground. How do you investigate when you have people active around you, but you're not like, you're not trying to negate an investigation, right? So like, um, I keep going, and around 1 o'clock, everything kind of dies down. At 1 o'clock, everything just kind of goes back to what it was. Um, it's quiet. Everybody's asleep. Um, the hotel is so quiet you could probably hear a pin drop in the lobby. So I'm doing my investigation. Um, and that first night went fine. Second night, um, really the second day, the day after, I had finished investigating, went to bed, woke up. My wife called and was like, "Hey, I think I want to come and do this investigation with you." And I'm like, "I don't know. It's pretty shady here." I explained, things that had happened, and she was like, "Okay, I'll still come. We're together. We'll be fine." Um, so at about 8 o'clock that evening, she gets to this hotel, and we're walking around. I'm kind of showing her all the hot spots, basically what the general manager took me on. And as we're walking, we're noticing one of the men that I saw the night before walking down the halls, knocking on doors. I was like, all right, so we're going to deal with this tonight. Except either someone heard my wife call my name, or someone at the front desk said my name, or I slipped and said my name in front of someone else who wasn't an employee. Because when we got back to our room at around 9:30ish, we get a knock on the door. Someone saying, "Hey Scott, let me in." I'm like, what? First off, hotel employees don't do that. Hotel employees knock on the door and announce who they are, not who I am, and then request to be let in. So I look through the peephole, and there's two decent sized gentlemen standing there. Shouldn't say gentlemen, just men. Um, Completely covered head to toe. The only thing you could see is the skin around their eyes from the ski masks. They had gloves on, jackets, like head to toe, completely covered except for the skin around their eyes. And I was like, crap. If I let them in, they're gonna steal our crap and sell it on the internet, and that's best case scenario. So I'm like, all right. They know I have valuable things in here because they know my name. They know what I'm doing here. Um, I ignore them. They continue knocking on down the hall. I wait probably another 30 minutes. I did lie to my wife and say it was just some guy knocking on our door. Um, and then, without making her panic, I push her to leave the hotel. I'm like, we need to get out of here. Um, Really, I wasn't concerned about my well being, I was concerned about hers and our equipment. There's a lot of equipment that I paid a lot of money for. Um, but I really didn't get the sense that I was going to physically be hurt about anything. And so yeah, I between the walk around that Eric and I did earlier, we did take some equipment with us. Um, all the equipment that I had with me the night before. Um, Gosh, I had a total of 7 cameras. One is because I used a couple of old phones for um, audio recorders. I decided to charge them up and just use them for audio storage. Um, because an old phone, even if it doesn't have a SIM card in it, you can still use the electronics on it. So I thought it would work. It actually turned out horrible. Like the audio was terrible, but I figured I'd give it a shot. So I had about 5 or 6 audio recorders with me, 3 actual recorders, 3 old phones. Um, and yeah, I had a thermal. I had an actual flash photography camera that I used. I had everything with me, every piece of device, and I brought extra. I actually bought extra batteries and had them with me. So like there was a couple of $1,000s worth of gear with me at the hotel, and like, yeah, no, I'm not, I'm not willing to risk 2 grand on that. Um, to be honest, you know, the evidence again, nothing came back except for that one K2 session that got a little bit of a bump on it. Um, there are a few points where it went off in response to some questions. I don't think the place was haunted, but you know, maybe maybe I just didn't get it on those 2 nights, or that one night and like an hour of the second night. Um, so yeah, that concludes my stories of the worst experiences that I've had doing paranormal investigations. I think it's also important to note that Bradley and I together have been doing this since last June. Again, my experience, my knowledge, my um, I guess you could say wheelhouse is the ivory tower. You know, it's from books, it's from reading, it's from researching, it's from engaging with scholarship and academics. So like I think I do bring something to the table when it comes to paranormal investigations, but I'm still getting the hang of it. There's every time I go, I figure something more efficient out. It was just this year where my instinct to flip on an audio recorder whenever I hear a sound, like that instinct has officially kicked in. I did it at the Patterson and caught a pretty awesome EVP. Um, that instinct wasn't there before. So I'm improving, I'm getting better. And I think the better I get, I'll probably still occasionally run across a terrible experience doing a paranormal investigation, but um, hopefully the better I get, the better the experiences get. That's my hope, at least. So thanks for watching. Again, the link to Jason and Strange Paranormal is below. Check them out. He seems like a pretty cool guy. We haven't talked face to face, but or online, but he seems like a pretty cool guy. I've watched a few of his videos. It's good stuff. Check them out. And as always, keep believing and keep being skeptical. Goodbye.
Here's the door.